For centuries, the galaxy whispered about humans. They were called legends, myths, even fairy tales. Some said humans once ruled the stars with courage unmatched by any other species. Others claimed they were dangerous, violent, or extinct long ago. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: humans were gone. In the bustling command halls of the Zereth Alliance, young cadets laughed whenever someone mentioned human bravery. It was just an old story. No one had seen a human in over 10,000 years. Some even doubted they ever existed. Humans? One cadet snickered to another as they watched battle simulations. They sound like bedtime stories for children. They survived DEATHWORLDs, his friend replied, smirking. Yeah, sure, and I eat moon dust for breakfast. Meanwhile, the leaders of the Alliance were growing worried. The Dravik Empire, a ruthless and expanding species, had begun attacking worlds near the galactic rim. Entire colonies vanished in a single day, their ships torn apart before they could even call for help. Among the Alliance's leaders was Admiral Krethval, a veteran of countless wars. He had seen worlds burn and fleets destroyed. He had grown cautious, calculating every move with precision. Yet even he was worried. Reports kept arriving. Colonies falling faster than reinforcements could arrive. Communication lines breaking. Entire star systems disappearing. The Alliance's fleet was stretched thin. Hope was slipping. It was during one long, quiet night in the command center that the first strange signal arrived. The sensors had picked it up far beyond known territory. It was not Dravik. It was old. Ancient, even. Krethval studied the readings carefully. Encrypted. Unknown origin. It matches nothing in the database, he said. His officers leaned closer. The signal repeated over and over in a code long forgotten. From Earth, with honor. Earth, muttered one of the junior officers. That planet, that's supposed to be extinct. Extinct or myth. It seems someone is still alive, Krethval said slowly, feeling a strange mix of hope and disbelief. Across the galaxy, in hidden systems, other fleets were picking up the same signals. Small fragmented colonies had long thought their distress calls went unheard. Now, for the first time in centuries, someone answered. The young cadets in the Alliance command rooms no longer laughed. Whispers began to spread. Could it be true? Meanwhile, on the far side of the galaxy, enormous ships began to appear out of hyperspace. They were bulky, heavily armored. Unlike anything modern designers expected, their engines glowed with blue-white heat, powerful and steady. In the observation deck of the Alliance flagship, a technician gasped. They're huge. Old-style dreadnoughts. But they're moving faster than anything we thought possible. Admiral Krethval's eyes widened. He had seen thousands of ships, known thousands of tactics, but nothing prepared him for this moment. They're human, he said quietly. The communications officer hesitated. Then a voice came over the open channel, clear and confident. This is the Terran Defense Command. You called for help. We heard you. The words echoed through every fleet, through every system like a shockwave. Terran? The Alliance officers stared at each other. It's them, someone whispered. The galaxy had long written humans off. They had called them extinct myths, stories from ancient records. But now reality struck. Humans were real. They were here. On the bridge of the lead human dreadnought, Captain Mara Sloan stood with calm authority. Her uniform was old-fashioned, patched in places but pristine in others. Her hair was tied back simply, and her eyes were steady, scanning the stars. Behind her, the ship's crew moved efficiently, following commands with precision. There was no fear. No hesitation. Just purpose. Status? Mara asked. Enemy fleet detected, Captain, replied her first officer. They are the Dravik Vanguard. Minimal shields, heavy plasma cannons, Mara smiled faintly. Good, that will make them easy to scare. And then, we win. The human ships moved with purpose, cutting through space like old legends reborn. They were not flashy, not sleek, but every movement was calculated for maximum effect. The Dravik fleets, who prided themselves on advanced technology, did not know what hit them. Back in the Alliance command, Admiral Krethval issued his orders, barely able to believe what he was seeing. Prepare to coordinate with them humans. Don't fire unless necessary. Let them lead. Observe and learn. Young cadets stared in awe at the holographic display of the incoming human fleet. Ships as large as moons, moving faster than the Dravik interceptors could react. Their tactics seemed reckless and brilliant. "Do you really think they can save us?" one cadet asked, voice trembling. Krethval paused, staring at the approaching formation. "I don't know. But one thing is certain," he said, his voice low and full of respect. "Humans fight like nothing else in this galaxy." The Dravic Empire, far on the other side of the stars, was busy mocking the supposed rescue fleet. Their generals laughed in their command centers. Humans? Extinct for 10,000 years, and yet somehow they come to fight? Ridiculous. But when the first human dreadnought unleashed its weapons, the laughter died instantly. The Dravic shields were shattered in moments. Projectiles that moved faster than light-resistant sensors tore through armor, hitting vital points with deadly accuracy. Every alien commander, in every ship, froze. Nothing in their experience could explain what was happening. These were humans, myths, legends, and yet here they were, rewriting every rule of warfare. On one of the Alliance colony worlds, civilians looked up in wonder. Reports spread, human soldiers had landed. Flesh and blood, not robots, not drones. They moved with speed and precision, patching their own wounds in battle, carrying fallen comrades without hesitation, smiling, joking, shouting orders. A young Zereth medic approached a human sergeant, watching in disbelief. "Why fight when death seems certain?" he asked quietly. The sergeant looked at him, bloodied but unbowed, and smiled. "Because someone has to stand first," he said simply. Those words echoed through the ranks of the Alliance and even reached some Dravic soldiers who could hear intercepted communications. Someone has to stand first. The phrase became a spark, a symbol, a challenge. For the first time in centuries, hope returned to the galaxy. And it came not from technology, not from strategy, but from humans, the species once thought extinct, now alive and willing to fight. As the human fleet moved closer, Admiral Krethval realized something profound. This was not just a battle. This was history in the making. The legends were real. Humans were real. And whatever happened next, the galaxy would never forget this moment. The first shots of the renewed war were fired. The Dravic shields flared. The human dreadnoughts advanced. And somewhere in the heart of every witnessing species, awe took hold. The myths had come alive. The Dravic Empire had been confident. Their fleets were sleek, fast, and deadly. For years they had conquered countless star systems, leaving nothing but smoke and silence in their wake. They believed the galaxy was theirs to take. But the sudden arrival of humans changed everything. Admiral Krethval watched the battle unfold from the command deck of the Alliance flagship. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the holographic display showing the positions of both fleets. "They move differently," he muttered to himself. "Not like any fleet we've ever seen." The humans did not follow predictable tactics. They split into multiple groups, feinting in one direction, then striking in another. Their ships were old in design, yes, bulkier, heavier, but every movement was precise. They seemed to anticipate the enemy's moves before the Dravic captains themselves could react. A junior officer turned to Krethval, wide-eyed. "Admiral, are they improvising?" Krethval nodded slowly. "Yes, and not just improvising. They are learning faster than the Dravic can respond. Pay attention, this is something else entirely." In the outer sectors of Dravic-controlled space, the human fleet prepared for the first major strike. Captain Mara Sloan walked among her crew, checking systems, ensuring everyone was ready. Despite the immense pressure, there was no fear. The humans had been trained for harsh worlds, brutal conflicts, and impossible odds, and now they faced an enemy that thought them extinct. "Report," Mara said, stopping beside a weapons officer. "All systems green, Captain. The Vanguard ships are detecting weak points in the Dravic shields. Target coordinates uploaded." "Good," Mara replied. Her eyes scanned the starfield ahead, where Dravic ships formed a massive defensive line. "We hit them hard and fast. Minimal warning. Keep them off balance." The humans moved as one, almost like a single organism. Ships launched from multiple vectors, missiles streaking across space, railguns firing with uncanny accuracy. The Dravic shields flared, absorbing some hits, but many penetrated, tearing through armor and ripping apart entire sections of capital ships. On the ground, human marines prepared to land on the Dravic-occupied colony of Vesra Prime. The planet had been under Dravic control for decades, its surface a maze of fortresses and energy turrets. Alien propaganda broadcast across the colony, warned the inhabitants that no help would come. Yet now humans were descending from orbit, deploying in sleek dropships and heavily armored transport vessels. Lieutenant Jace Heron led the first wave. He looked at the planet below, its scarred surface lit by fires and explosions. "Remember," he said to his team, "we fight for every life down there, and we don't stop until it's free." The Marines landed under heavy fire. Plasmas streaked across the sky, energy shields flaring as they advanced, but the humans moved quickly, almost too fast for their alien enemies to react. With coordinated strikes, they neutralized key turrets and communication towers. They patched wounds while continuing to advance, always moving, always fighting. Back in orbit, the space battle continued. Dravik ships tried to regroup, but the humans anticipated every move. They attacked from angles no one had expected, exploiting weaknesses in enemy formation. It was not just skill, it was instinct, courage, and relentless determination. A young Zerath cadet, watching the unfolding battle, whispered in disbelief to his friend, "How can they do this? One fleet, one species, and they're destroying everything we thought was impossible." The human captain in orbit noticed the same cadet through an encrypted observation feed. Mara Sloan smiled quietly. Courage is contagious, she thought. Let them see what standing first means. Meanwhile, on Vesra Prime, the first clashes of ground combat began. The Dravik troops, confident in their superior numbers, tried to hold the cities. But human soldiers were not ordinary. They moved unpredictably, adapting to the terrain and the enemy in ways the Dravik had never faced. A human squad encountered a heavily fortified enemy base. Explosions rocked the structure as they advanced, but the humans pressed on, covering each other, using every resource at their disposal. One soldier, wounded but determined, dragged a fallen comrade to safety while continuing to fire at advancing enemies. His teammates followed, inspired by his courage. At the same time, alien civilians on Vesra Prime watched from hiding places. They had lived under Dravik rule for decades, believing no one could challenge the Empire. And now humans, mythical humans, were liberating them, striking down oppressors with unmatched bravery. Some wept openly, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. Above them, Captain Sloan coordinated the battle from orbit. Her voice was calm, precise, and unwavering. Squad Delta flanked the northern wall. Squad Echo, cover the civilians. Watch your left. Watch your right. Keep moving. The humans adapted as the battle changed. When enemy turrets switched fire, they changed routes. When reinforcements arrived, they created diversions, drawing enemies away. Nothing slowed them down. Nothing made them retreat. Dravik commanders watching the battle unfold were furious. Their arrogance shattered with every lost ship, every falling turret, every human soldier advancing where none should have survived. Their communications were full of confusion and disbelief. "Impossible," one Dravik general shouted. "They should have fallen decades ago. How are they still alive? How are they still fighting?" In the middle of the chaos, a young Zerath medic again observed a human sergeant helping civilians. He couldn't resist asking, "Why risk yourself? Why not run?" The sergeant looked at him, blood on his uniform but a smile on his face. "Because someone has to stand first. And if we don't, who will?" The cadet's eyes widened. Those words were not just brave, they were a lesson. Courage, he realized, could change the outcome of a war. Back in space, the human dreadnoughts continued to press the attack. Entire Dravik squadrons tried to counter, but their formations collapsed under the humans' relentless advance. Every strike was deliberate. Every movement was precise. Admiral Krethval watched, leaning on the edge of his command chair. This is not just a fleet," he murmured. "This is something else, something we've never seen before, humans." He paused as if tasting the word. Humans are extraordinary. As the battle raged on, the humans showed another trait that stunned the galaxy: resilience. Ships that were damaged were repaired in minutes. Soldiers wounded in combat continued to fight after simple field treatments. They adapted to every unexpected situation. On Vesra Prime, the liberation of the main city was nearly complete. Dravik forces had nowhere to retreat. Civilians cheered the humans as they passed, and for the first time in decades, hope returned to the planet. Captain Sloan looked down at the city from orbit. "Well done, everyone. But this is only the beginning. The Empire still believes they are untouchable. They still think humans are myths. We'll show them they are very real." Her words were carried across the fleet, inspiring every soldier, human or alien. And across the galaxy, the story of humanity's return, of their courage, skill, and determination, spread like wildfire. The Dravic Empire, once so sure of victory, was now on the defensive. For the first time in centuries, they faced an enemy they could not easily destroy, and that enemy was human. Somewhere deep in the outer sectors, other species who had long thought humans extinct began to prepare. Ships that had hidden in shadows for centuries now emerged, ready to follow. The myths had returned, and now they were leading the fight. In the heart of every soldier, every officer, and every civilian who witnessed it, one truth became clear. Humans were not only real, they were the spark the galaxy needed. And the galaxy, which had long forgotten what courage looked like, was about to remember. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy was watching. The Dravic Empire had underestimated them, thinking they were extinct myths, nothing more than bedtime stories. Now they were realizing their mistake. Humans were very real, and they were deadly. Captain Mara Sloan stood on the bridge of the lead human dreadnought, scanning the battlefield with calm eyes. Her crew moved with precision, giving and following orders without hesitation. The humans had a reputation for surviving impossible odds, and today, they were proving it once again. The Dravic fleet was attempting to regroup after the devastating losses at HFY. Entire squadrons had been destroyed or disabled, and their morale was falling. Dravic commanders sent urgent messages to their high command, demanding reinforcements, but the humans anticipated this. Enemy reinforcements detected, reported Lieutenant Riel, Mara's tactical officer. 4 battlecruisers approaching from Sector 7. They are faster than we expected. Mara didn't flinch. Divide into 3 groups. 2 groups draw their fire. 1 group strikes their weak points. Synchronize attacks in 30 seconds. Let's remind them why humans fight. The ships executed the maneuver flawlessly. The Dravic fleet fired plasma and energy cannons, but their shots barely landed. Humans moved unpredictably, weaving through the battlefield like predators. Railguns tore through Dravic armor, and kinetic strikes disabled engines in seconds. Meanwhile, on the ground, human marines continued liberating planets under Dravic control. On HFY, Lieutenant Jace Heron led his squad through the ruins of a city under heavy fire. The air was thick with smoke and dust, and energy beams cut through buildings like lightning. "Cover me," Jace shouted as he moved forward to help a civilian trapped under rubble. His squad followed, neutralizing enemy soldiers along the way. They worked together seamlessly, every move synchronized as if instinct guided them. A civilian whispered in awe as the humans passed. "They are legends. They are real." The Dravic soldiers, despite their training and superior technology, began to panic. They had never faced an enemy who moved with such courage and unpredictability. Every attempt to trap the humans failed. Every strategy countered with unexpected brilliance. In space, the battle escalated. Mara Sloan directed her fleet with precision, striking at weak points in the enemy formation. A Dravic battlecruiser fired a massive energy cannon, but before it could lock on, a human destroyer fired a concentrated volley of railgun slugs. The cannon exploded, sending debris into orbit. The Dravic general aboard a nearby command ship growled in frustration. "Impossible. They should have fallen. How do they adapt so quickly?" Back on HFY, Jace's squad approached the Dravic central fortress. It was heavily fortified, with energy shields and automated defenses. But humans had something the Dravic did not anticipate: ingenuity. "Set the charges here," Jace ordered, pointing to structural weak points. "Then cover the exits. When the blast hits, move in fast." The humans moved swiftly, planting explosives while dodging enemy fire. When the charges detonated, the fortress walls crumbled. They advanced immediately, taking control before the enemy could recover. The Dravic soldiers, trapped and disoriented, surrendered in large numbers. A young Zerath soldier watching the battle whispered to his commander, "They are unstoppable." "Yes," his commander replied quietly. "They fight not for glory, not for power, but for something greater. That is what makes them extraordinary." Back in space, Mara Sloan's fleet was advancing toward DeATHWORLD, the heart of the Empire. The Dravic had gathered their remaining forces, hoping to stop the humans before they reached the capital. But humans had one advantage that no technology could match: unpredictability and courage. Prepare for hyperspace jump, Mara ordered. We go straight to their home system. No detours. No hesitation. The fleet moved in unison, engines blazing. They jumped through hyperspace, emerging near DEATHWORLD with perfect timing. The DEATHWORLD defenders were caught off guard. Their sensors had predicted delays, miscalculations, anything but the sudden appearance of the humans in their own territory. Signal received, reported Lieutenant Riel. All enemy systems are reacting slowly. We have the advantage. Mara's lips curved into a faint smile. Good. Let's remind them that legends don't die. The humans struck first at orbital defenses, destroying gun platforms and communication arrays. The DEATHWORLD ships attempted to counterattack, but every move was anticipated. The humans adapted constantly, learning from each encounter and adjusting tactics on the fly. Meanwhile, human marines landed on DEATHWORLD's surface. The planet was a fortress with towering walls and advanced energy barriers, but humans had faced worse. Move in and don't stop, Mara ordered from orbit. We fight for every life they've taken, every world they've destroyed. Keep moving forward. On the ground, the humans encountered fierce resistance. DEATHWORLD soldiers were well-trained and heavily armed. But the humans had what no other species had: resilience, courage, and a refusal to give up. A human squad was pinned down in a narrow canyon, energy blasts cutting through the rock walls around them. One soldier, wounded, refused to stay behind. He dragged himself forward, covering his teammates with fire. Another soldier tossed a grenade, clearing the path for the group to advance. They moved like a wave, unstoppable and relentless. Every step forward was a step toward victory, a step toward proving that humans were not myths. They were real, and they were dangerous. In the skies above DEATHWORLD, the human fleet continued to dominate. Ships moved with incredible coordination, striking at vital points with devastating accuracy. The DEATHWORLD were stunned, unable to recover from the unexpected assault. Admiral Krethval watched from the Alliance flagship. I have studied every species in this galaxy, he said quietly to a fellow officer. I have seen fleets win against impossible odds. But I have never seen anything like this. Humans, they are beyond what we thought possible. On the surface, civilians began to emerge from hiding. They watched as humans advanced, liberated towns, and defeated enemy soldiers. Many wept openly, overwhelmed by hope they had not felt in decades. Lieutenant Jace Heron approached a group of frightened civilians. You're safe now, he said calmly. Follow us to the safe zone. We won't stop until every part of this planet is free. The humans continued to push forward, never pausing, never hesitating. Every victory inspired more courage, not only among humans but also among the allies who fought alongside them. Back in space, Mara Sloan observed the DEATHWORLD fleet collapsing. Ships were retreating, many destroyed, and the defenders of DEATHWORLD were losing ground. She knew the battle was far from over, but one thing was certain: the tide had turned. They thought we were myths, she said quietly, almost to herself. They thought we were gone. But we are here, and we will not stop. Her crew nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. This was not just a battle, it was a statement. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, and they were ready to fight for all who could not defend themselves. Even as the DEATHWORLD regrouped and called for reinforcements, the humans advanced. They moved with purpose, courage, and intelligence, proving to every species watching that humans were more than survivors. They were legends who breathed life into hope itself. As night fell over DEATHWORLD, explosions lit the sky. Ships burned in orbit, while Marines cleared towns below. The humans showed no fear, no hesitation. They adapted, learned, and advanced, rewriting the rules of warfare in real time. Every observer, alien or ally, knew one truth: humans were not a myth. They were real. They were dangerous. They were extraordinary. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, remembered what courage looked like. The galaxy had watched in awe as humans returned from myth to reality. Entire fleets and colonies had been liberated, and DEATHWORLD forces had been pushed back time and again. But the heart of the Empire, DEATHWORLD, still stood, a fortress of steel, energy, and tyranny. It was the center of power, the command hub, and the symbol of the Empire's might. Captain Mara Sloan studied the star map in the Human Fleet Command Center. Every dot, every line, every enemy position was tracked meticulously. GalacticPrime is heavily defended, she said. We expected that. But the defenses are not unbeatable. Focus on the weak points. Move quickly and strike hard. Her fleet, battered but unbeaten, responded with disciplined efficiency. They had learned from every battle. Every Dravic tactic was now met with human adaptation. The humans' combination of courage, intelligence, and unpredictability made them unstoppable. Admiral Krethval, coordinating from the Alliance flagship, watched the approach with anticipation. If the humans succeed here, he said to his officers, they will shatter the Empire's core. The galaxy will never be the same again. The first phase of the assault began in orbit. Human dreadnoughts launched concentrated volleys of railgun fire and kinetic missiles. Dravic shields flared, absorbing some impact, but not all. Huge sections of orbital defense platforms were destroyed, sending debris raining down onto the planet's surface. Below, human marines prepared for planetary assault. Lieutenant Jace Heron's squad was assigned to one of the heavily fortified city districts. Their orders were simple: disable enemy communications and secure key strategic locations. Remember, Jace reminded his squad, every step we take forward weakens their control. Move fast, stay focused, and protect the civilians wherever possible. The Marines moved swiftly, advancing through narrow streets and rubble-strewn avenues. Dravic soldiers fired relentlessly, but humans had learned to anticipate patterns of attack. They moved unpredictably, dodging energy blasts, neutralizing enemies, and pressing forward. In one encounter, Jace's team faced a fortified Dravic turret. Normally, such positions required heavy artillery to neutralize, but the humans improvised. Using a combination of explosives and clever maneuvering, they disabled the turret in minutes, leaving the defenders stunned. Too fast. Too clever, muttered a Dravic officer as he regrouped his troops. How can they think so quickly? How can they move like that? On the orbiting human fleet, Mara Sloan received reports from multiple ground teams. Civilians were being rescued, enemy supply lines disrupted, and resistance was collapsing faster than predicted. Excellent, she said calmly. Keep the momentum. Don't let them regroup. The Dravic Empire had underestimated one thing. Humans did not fight for territory or glory alone. They fought for justice, for freedom, for the protection of life. Every liberated world fueled their determination. Every victory strengthened their courage. In the skies above GalacticPrime, human ships coordinated strikes with ground forces. Dropships deployed reinforcements directly into combat zones, while dreadnoughts and cruisers targeted energy generators, weapon batteries, and communication arrays. The synchronization was perfect, almost as if the humans were one mind spread across many bodies. Meanwhile, the Dravic leadership scrambled. Their high command issued frantic orders, trying to consolidate forces and defend the capital. But human unpredictability had already dismantled their plans. Every formation was disrupted, every counterattack anticipated. On the ground, Lieutenant Jace Heron's squad approached the central communication tower. It was heavily guarded, with energy shields and elite Dravic troops defending the perimeter. Plan A? Asked one of his soldiers, a young Marine named Lyra. Plan A is move forward and never stop, Jace replied with a grin. Plan B, adapt. They split into multiple teams, each flanking the defenses. One team created a diversion, drawing the Dravic soldiers into exposed positions. Another team disabled the shields using portable disruptors. Jace's group moved directly toward the tower's core, neutralizing enemies with precision and efficiency. The tower fell in minutes. Communication lines went down, cutting Dravic forces off from their command. Panic spread among the defenders. Without coordination, their advantage of numbers disappeared. From orbit, Mara Sloan observed the chaos below. They're collapsing, she said softly. Every second counts. Push harder. The humans pressed forward. They cleared city after city, district after district. Dravic troops, though trained and numerous, could not withstand the combination of human ingenuity, courage, and relentless advance. Admiral Krethval, observing from the Alliance flagship, realized the significance of the moment. This is more than a victory, he whispered. This is history. Humans are rewriting the fate of the galaxy. As the final push approached the Dravic capital, the humans faced the toughest resistance yet. Elite Dravic battalions, equipped with advanced armor and weapons, attempted to stop them. But humans were ready. They had studied, learned, and adapted from every previous encounter. Lieutenant Jace Heron led a squad into the heart of the capital's defensive network. Energy beams cut through walls, explosions shook the streets, but the humans pressed on. They used every advantage: cover, terrain, tactics, and teamwork. At one critical moment, a young human soldier was trapped under debris. Without hesitation, two comrades lifted the rubble and dragged him to safety, continuing the fight as they moved. Every act of courage inspired others, spreading hope and determination like wildfire. Above, Mara Sloan coordinated orbital strikes. Enemy fortifications crumbled under precise bombardments. Supply depots exploded, cutting off reinforcements. The humans were unstoppable. Finally, the Dravik command center fell. The Empire's leaders were captured or neutralized. GalacticPrime, the heart of their power, was in human hands. Mara Sloan looked down at the planet. Fires burned across the surface, but civilians were being rescued. Soldiers had surrendered and order was being restored. The humans had accomplished the impossible. Admiral Krethval approached her via holocommunication. "Captain Sloan, you have done the unimaginable. GalacticPrime has fallen. The Empire's core is broken. Humanity has returned." Mara nodded, her expression calm but resolute. "We fight to protect those who cannot defend themselves. Today we liberated a world. Tomorrow, there are others." On the streets of GalacticPrime, civilians cheered. Soldiers from the Alliance who had fought alongside humans looked on with admiration. Every witness knew the truth. Humans were extraordinary, capable of courage and ingenuity beyond anything the galaxy had imagined. Even the surviving Dravik soldiers could not deny it. Their myths of humanity had been wrong. Humans were not extinct. Humans were alive, and they had proven that legends could breathe, fight, and win. As the humans prepared to depart from GalacticPrime, they left behind something more than victory. They left a message. Courage, hope, and resilience could change the course of history. The galaxy had witnessed the return of a species that had been underestimated for centuries. And the lesson was clear: never underestimate humans. Captain Mara Sloan addressed her fleet one last time before departure. "GalacticPrime is free, but our work is not done. Other worlds call for help. Other species need someone to stand first. We move on. We fight where we are needed. Humanity will always stand for life, for freedom, for hope." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving GalacticPrime behind, a liberated world and a symbol of human courage. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Myths of humanity were replaced with facts. Legends walked among the stars once more, and their name inspired hope everywhere they went. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood that humans were real, dangerous, and extraordinary. And that understanding would never be forgotten. The battle for GalacticPrime was over, and the galaxy had changed forever. The Dravik Empire, once feared across countless systems, lay fractured. Their fleets scattered, their leaders captured, their worlds liberated. Humanity had proven itself not a myth, but a force that could challenge even the most powerful civilizations. Captain Mara Sloan stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the horizon of GalacticPrime. Fires burned across the surface, but the planet was alive. Civilians emerged from hiding, their eyes wide with hope, tears streaming freely. Soldiers of the Alliance and other liberated species looked on in awe. Humans had done what no one else could. "Captain," Lieutenant Riel said, breaking the silence, "all major objectives are complete. Enemy resistance has collapsed. Civilians are secure. Dravik command structures are neutralized." Mara nodded slowly. "Good. Begin preparations for departure. We have other worlds to liberate, other calls for help." Admiral Krethval appeared on the holoscreen from the Alliance flagship. His expression was a mixture of admiration and disbelief. "Captain Sloan, humanity has changed the galaxy. You've shattered an empire's heart. I don't know how to thank you." Mara smiled faintly. "There's no need for thanks, Admiral. We don't fight for glory. We fight for those who cannot defend themselves. That is enough reward." As the humans prepared to leave, civilians approached the edge of the city, waving and cheering. Children ran alongside soldiers, laughing. Elderly citizens who had lived in fear for decades bowed or raised their hands in gratitude. The humans had not just fought battles, they had given hope, restored courage, and reminded the galaxy what it meant to stand for something greater than oneself. Lieutenant Jace Heron walked among the crowds, helping wherever needed. A small girl tugged at his sleeve. "Are you really human?" she asked shyly. Jace knelt down to her level. "Yes," he said gently. "And we're here to help. Always." She smiled and ran back to her family. Jay straightened and glanced at his squad. Let's finish loading up. More lives need us out there. In orbit, Captain Sloan observed the human fleet preparing for hyperspace jumps. Every ship had sustained damage during the campaign, but the crews had repaired them with speed and skill. The humans were relentless, even in victory. Set coordinates for the outer sectors, Mara ordered. We follow the distress signals. We don't wait for requests, we go where help is needed. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Riel, looked at her with admiration.
Captain,
it's incredible. Every fleet we've encountered has underestimated us. Every enemy we faced thought we were gone, and yet we've proven them wrong at every turn. Mara's eyes softened as she replied, That's what being human is. We adapt, we fight, and we protect. We do what must be done no matter the odds. That is why legends speak of humanity, why myths exist. But now we are real again, and the galaxy knows it. As the fleet prepared to jump into hyperspace, Krethval's voice came again over the comms. Captain, one question. Will humanity remain in the galaxy, or will you vanish again? Mara considered the question carefully. We won't vanish, she said, but we won't occupy or control. We move where we are needed. Other civilizations have their freedom, their lives. We stand when others cannot. That is our purpose, and we will continue to stand wherever needed. The human ship shimmered as hyperspace engines activated. Blue-white trails stretched across the stars as the fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind liberated worlds, inspired civilizations, and a galaxy that would never forget them. On GalacticPrime, civilians gathered in the streets looking up at the sky as the ships vanished. They whispered stories that would be passed down for generations, legends of humans, the species thought extinct who returned when hope seemed lost, who fought with courage beyond belief, and who reminded everyone what it meant to be alive. A young Zerath cadet, still watching from a nearby colony, spoke quietly to a comrade. I always thought humans were myths. I thought they were gone. But now, I know. They exist, they fight, and they lead by example. Yes, his comrade replied. And one day, maybe we can learn to be like them. Elsewhere in the galaxy, reports of the humans' victories spread quickly. Other species who had long been oppressed began to rise, inspired by the courage they had witnessed. Rebellion grew, alliances formed, and the very foundations of the Dravic Empire began to crumble. All because a species once thought mythical returned and stood when no one else could. Back on the lead human ship, Captain Sloan addressed her crew. We've done much already, but the galaxy is large. There are countless worlds under threat, countless species in need. We don't fight for glory. We fight for life, for freedom, for hope. That is our mission. That is who we are. Her words resonated with every soldier, every crew member, every pilot. They understood the responsibility they carried, not just the power of their weapons, but the power of their courage and example. They had become a symbol of hope. Even among the Dravic, whispers spread of the humans' power. They were supposed to be gone, one Dravic officer muttered in disbelief. Extinct. A myth, and yet, they returned and shattered everything we built. How can one species be so unstoppable? The answer, of course, was simple. Humanity had courage, determination, and a will to stand when no one else would. No technology alone could account for their victories. Their greatest weapon was not railguns, not ships, not bombs. It was the human spirit itself. Across the liberated worlds, monuments would eventually be built, songs composed, and histories rewritten. But for the humans, these were not reasons to fight. They did not seek recognition or power. They sought only to act where they were needed, to stand first when danger threatened, and to remind the galaxy that courage mattered. Lieutenant Jace Heron looked out at the stars, reflecting on the campaign. We've done something incredible, he said softly to a comrade. We've changed the galaxy, and yet, there's still more to do. Always, his friend replied. That's what makes us human. As the human fleet disappeared into the vast reaches of space, civilizations that had once doubted, feared, or dismissed them began to prepare. They had witnessed what courage, determination, and ingenuity could accomplish. The galaxy had seen humans stand first, and that example would inspire generations to come. Captain Mara Sloan remained on the bridge of her ship, looking at the stars. She knew the journey ahead would be long. There would always be those in need, those oppressed, those facing impossible odds. and humanity would be there, ready to fight, ready to protect, ready to stand first. Set a course, she ordered. Next system, next world. We move where help is needed. Humanity stands for all who cannot stand alone. The stars stretched before them, infinite and uncharted. The humans sailed into the unknown, not for conquest, not for glory, but for the call of duty, courage, and hope. They had returned not as myths, not as legends, but as living proof that determination, bravery, and willpower could reshape the galaxy. And in every corner of the cosmos, one undeniable truth echoed: humanity was not a myth. They were real, they were extraordinary, and wherever they went, hope would follow.